wrestling fans, more importantly, Deep South wrestling fans, and NAWA, among many, many others. Joining me on a special edition of Pro Wrestling Underground, he is the legendary Simon Sermon. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm better for talking to you.
Poor you.
Don't kid yourself. Trust me, you are the top of the list when we started this show. It We're like, hey, who do you guys want on this show? And they're like, oh, you have to have Simon. So you are actually our second guest. So we are happy to have you. And I keep saying we. Obviously, my co-host, Mr. Marx, is
I was
rehabbing
looking.
his knee. Yeah, and he is. Yeah, I was. Yeah, I don't. I don't he actually was not cleared to be on the show tonight based on his knee rehab. So we wish him the best. Look forward to seeing him on future episodes. And unfortunately, Ryan, that's your loss. So it is what it is. We'll try not to give him a Manchester driver about the whole thing, but which if I can do that, that would be impressive. That would probably hurt me more than him if I was able to pull that off.
Well, his knee wouldn't bother him anymore. He
Yeah,
would just
yeah,
be dead.
yep. His head and neck would be somewhere near his sternum, and
Yep.
his knee wouldn't hurt.
No. Mm-mm. We
And if
just
people don't
sever
know what I'm
that.
talking about, look it up.
Yeah, sever that neurological connection. Just
Absolutely. See, I'll be doing you a favor. I'll be doing you a favor. So,
yeah.
but as I said, part of why I wanted to have you on here recently is I want to start here because I want to hit the big show here in a minute. Uh, you are the current general manager of Deep South Wrestling, something we have covered on this network for many, many years now. And first off, how did that even come about?
Well, I'm a huge fan of The Assassin from back in the days. I worked at the original Deep South right after it was no longer a WWE developmental. So I worked with The Assassin. I also worked with The Assassin at Rampage when he was the booker there, and then through that I met Nick Patrick, and just over the years I've just been a huge fan of that entire family. You know, Nick Patrick being a legendary referee from
Mhm.
WCW. I don't even think about his time at WWE. I mean, for me, it's all WCW and
Mhm.
NWA. And then, of course, being a big fan of the Assassin. I mean, like literally, you know, he was in my nightmares as a child. I grew up in Tampa, and although I didn't know what he looked like, I knew exactly what his voice sounded like. So when somebody said that guy over there, that's the assassin, as soon as I heard him talk, I was like, oh my god. But and so I've just kept in touch with Nick Patrick over the years, and they said they needed somebody to lay down the law at Deep South, and so they contacted me, and for better or for worse, I can never say no to anybody named Hamilton.
There you go. On a different podcast, we'll talk about their distant cousin Alexander. I'm sure there's been many exploits in that direction as well. But yeah, from out of the gate, I had kind of gotten a heads up. I'm not an ace reporter for nothing. I'd gotten a little bit of a heads up that you might be taking that position there. So it was not a surprise for me to see you uh, come storming out to the ring one time. But like you said, what I really liked about it is most authority figures at other places, and hey, they do what they can. You got right in the face and started laying down how things were going to go to a team like the Redacted, who is Hakeem Young and Jay Alpha Miller, who are used to just kind of pushing their way around and doing what they need to. And more importantly, you have helped kind of put Gemma Jules back a step a little bit. It's she has been known to do the same as well, and she does not like seeing you come out. I can see the look on her face. It's she does not like seeing you.
I love Jim. Jim is one of my favorite wrestlers there. Jim is fantastic. I like Jim. I don't really like Jim, but can I call her Jim? Is that appropriate? I asked her, she didn't say, so Jim is what I'm going with.
That is true. I was there, and you said, "Can I call you Jim?" And she just looked bewildered. I thought that she was impressed that you would give her such a great pen name like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like a pet name. as if she
Yeah,
was a pet. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
right.
But yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't tell people that the next Deep South wrestling show, I believe, is at New Realm this Saturday on the 27th, correct?
Sounds great to me.
I am nowhere near the calendar that that is written on, but I am pretty sure because it is the same time as another show. But we'll get more into your Deep South stuff another time. You over the weekend were part of the NAWA Ring Champions show. I think we're short. Yeah, we're kind of shortening it a little bit by calling it just a wrestling show. That was quite the spectacle of a carnival, just a jam-packed card. Of course, I want to start with your match because you had to face Mother Frost, who is quite the different cat. A lot of people would call you a different cat, maybe to your own drummer as well. He is, if you're on one side of the line, he is as deep into the woods of the other side as the other. What was it like kind of matching up with Frost?
Well, I mean, Skeevy Frost, I call him Skeevy. Skeevy Frost is definitely a character, but he's current title holder there at NAWA. I'm sort of an NAWA original from back in the early 2000s, and sometimes people forget that I even still wrestle, but I do, and I'll kick your teeth down your throat, which makes me an effective leader. That's my management style. I tell people I have two ways of communicating: the right way, and then there's the other way. But that's my management style. But as far as like Skeevy, he is who he is. He's got that horn, and I told him, and if you're not careful, I'm gonna pull out my horn and I'm gonna hit you with my horn. But that hasn't stopped him. He keeps trying. But he is the champion over there. He's one of the champions, and any wrestler that's worth their salt, they want a championship title around their waist. So if I have to put my hands on him and touch that skeevy guy, then at some point, I hope to bring that title to a cleaner disposition.
Exactly. And you managed to do something during this match that I had yet to see in a skeevy match, and you had him kind of backpedaling and on his back foot. Normally, he keeps other people kind of uneasy and not sure what was going to go on. And there were times he had a an interesting look on his face that I have not seen Frost have before.
Well, a good part of wrestling is the psychological aspect of it.
Mhm.
In real life, do I go around pinching booties and smacking people on the butt? Well, you know what? Yeah, I do actually. However, it's usually with somebody who I have, some sort of relationship with. But in Skeevy Frost's situation, I had seen before how he sort of acts and what his shenanigans are, and I sort of had an idea of what he's capable of. So I just felt like if I just took it a step forward, that it might take him out of his comfort zone and put him on the defensive as opposed to being constantly on the offensive.
Yep, and you were definitely getting the upper hand there, and that is not an opinion based thing because by the end of it, outside of that weird power outage that happened at just the right time for him, I'm still they're still investigating that. I was asking people in the building, was there like a short or something? They don't know, but conveniently it happened at the right place. It allowed him to get out of your grasp for a second, and then somebody that you just keep tending to run into and cross paths with. The lethal lariat, Lamar Phillips decided to join Frost, and he still wanted another piece of you as well.
Yeah, yeah, I've known Lamar. Speaking of another original from the Rome days in the early 2000s, uh, he actually sort of looks like he ate Lamar Phillips, but Lamar Phillips
Yeah.
that we all know today is quite the veteran and brawler. I can see his influences. I can see the Bobby Hayeses in there. I can see all these guys that'll go out there and hit you with a table, hit you with a crowbar, hit you with whatever just so he wins. But yeah, Lamar is just one of those guys. You don't want to cross him, so when he just shows up and starts stomping a mud hole, and you have to wonder like, what did you do in life to get yourself there, and what do you have to do to get yourself out of it?
Yeah, and you were battling your way out, but kind of an unlikely friend showed up, and Madman Mason came out to kind of help even the odds there, and that's going to set up a tag team match coming up at the next show, I believe on the 11th. But
July.
have you, yeah, have you had any sort of chat or anything with Mason, or were you as surprised as the rest of us to see him in there?
I put the word out that I kind of felt like something might happen, and I offered, anything that anybody might want to consider to come watch my back, and interestingly enough, on Madman Mason, he's not really a man motivated by money, but but if you give him a treat that he really likes, you can win him over. Those little Debbie cream cakes just go a long
Mm.
way for a beast. There's this farmer that feeds them to this bull named Rufus, and so I kind of feel like that I have this beast now in Madman Mason. I have my own Rufus, my own beef, my own beast that I can toss some delicious snacks to, and he will see to it that the other bulls don't run me over when I'm out walking around in the pasture.
Yep. Those little Debbie cakes will make people do a lot of things. Forget
So
Klondike
delicious.
bars. It's the little Debbie
Yeah,
cakes.
yeah. Oh, and then the little peanut butter wafer things, the
Oh,
peanut butter, nutter butter things. Oh, Jesus.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
heaven on earth. Yeah.
Yeah. That's whether you just ate or not before you watch this show, you're now starving like the rest of us.
Yeah. If I have milk and those nutter butter bars, then I'm just gonna eat the whole box until I run out of milk.
Yep. That's why I refuse to buy them by the box. I buy them individually because however many I buy is how many I eat when I sit down.
It's like me and Oreos. It's either one, two, or three rows.
Yep. Hey, they're in those convenient little rows for a reason.
Yeah. So I can just count them out. Just one, two, or three.
Absolutely. Uh, but as we said, the next NAWA show is July 11th up in Calhoun at the Spot 365. Did you get a chance to catch any of the rest of that card that night, or were you busy in your preparations?
No, I had the opportunity to watch a couple of different things. I saw pieces of the main event, of course, and I saw uh, parts of the match with Big Andy, and I saw a little bit of a Skrilla that match. So I had the opportunity to, in passing, get a look at things here and there.
Yeah, that show was stacked from top to bottom. It had something for everybody. If no matter what kind of fan you were, whether you liked everything or you liked one individual part, it was like going to the circus. You might have went for the trapeze act, but man, the lion tamer really stole it, and just everything was something different there. And as I said before, with being the first on top of the mountain, we are in the summer season, and here in the state of Georgia, that's when all the bigger shows, the ones that are usually up for the shows of the year, start to pop out. In fact, there's another one coming up this weekend that we'll get into on another show. But I got to give NAWA credit. They were the first out of the block. They have set the bar where it is, and now all those other shows have got to at least meet them at their level if they want to be considered one of the top shows. I've already kind of put my stamp on it that this is a front runner for show of the year.
Yeah. Well, they have a lot of relationships with a lot of really, famous wrestlers that are
Mhm.
either are currently on TV or have just been on TV, and so they've utilized those connections and those relationships to bring talent that, quite frankly, other people just can't get. And it just goes to show you, being in the wrestling business, longevity, you meet people at a certain point of their career, and then you meet them again later on, and they remember, hey, this guy was nice to me, and they, and so they. I always say, all the people you pass on the way up are the people who are going to soften your fall on the way back down,
Yep.
and you just never know, who's watching you, who's listening to you, and they've made friendships that have lasted over decades, and now those people are on top, and they can come in and draw their own crowds, and hats off to them for maintaining those relationships.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to break his name here because I know he likes to stay in the shadows and it's not about him. But it helps when you're one of your main writers and bookers is good as the one they have, and I know you have quite a history with him as well.
Yep,
And
yep. I've heard
every
of them.
show, yeah, few times, maybe passed him once or twice on the subway, maybe. But
What?
yeah, when you're any show that he writes, for one, I'm starting to figure out his style to where even if I don't know that he's there, I can see something happen and I go, "This is his show."
Yeah.
I recognize that.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, any of his shows are must see. He writes for some other people too. But yeah, that has something to do with it too. It's just like you can buy the right ingredients and you can follow the recipe. But if you're not a good enough chef to put both of those together, it still tastes like crap. And it when you line up all three of those, you just get one of the most jam up shows so far of the year.
Yeah, you ain't getting grandpa's meatloaf if you don't know how to put the ingredients together.
Exactly. Exactly. It's cinnamon and cumin, by the way. That's what you want to put in that.
No, I don't know about that. Mine's balsamic vinaigrette.
Oh,
Yeah.
now I'm really hungry. But I want to get a little more into you do so many more fascinating things outside the wrestling world that there's some fan questions too. But it's one you talked about before we came on. I wanted to bring up. How did you get into flag football?
Um, that's actually a funny story. I actually, my roommate was stalking somebody, and this person played flag football. And so one day, out of the blue, my roommate comes to me in like maybe 2002 or something like that, and he's like, "Hey, let's go play this pickup flag football game in Piedmont Park." And I was like, "Oh, sure." So we went out there, and of course, I had a great time playing football. And then I kept going, and then all of a sudden, my friend's like, "Hey, why don't we go over to this club here tonight? We're having they're doing this thing." And so I went over there, and it was another football thing with all the same guys. But I kept noticing this same blonde that was at every one of these events. And my roommate would always make sure to go up and talk to him and all this other stuff. And we just kept accidentally running into them all over the place. And I said to my roommate, I was like, it doesn't take a detective. I just happen to be one. But are we stalking that blonde-headed person right over there? And it turns out we were. And they ended up getting together. And that's a funny story how I found that out. And I can get into that on another time. But I almost got my nose broken because
Oh,
I asked one too many questions, because people have relationships, and their person lives, in New York, and then all of a sudden they're here with somebody completely different. And I come home early from a wrestling show, and I'm like 3 hours early, and then all of a sudden they're closed in the living room. But I digress. I'm like, whose change is this? I put it in my pocket.
it was loose change. It was
It
just
was.
rolling around. It wasn't claimed. So I mean,
It was a loose shoe. I didn't recognize it.
yeah. And plus, possession's 9/10 of the law, or so
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what happened. I got into flag football in maybe 2002,
Hmm.
um, right around the time I started wrestling. A lot of people don't realize I was 30 years old, 29, 30 years old when I started training in wrestling and also in flag football, and just sort of learned both skills at the same time. And it just so happens, here we are 20 something years later. I'm a Hall of Fame wrestler in several Hall of Fames, and I'm also a Hall of Fame flag football player.
Which is just it's another one of those wrestling firsts to me is that I don't know that anybody else is in both Hall of Fame. So that's that's congratulations to you on that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, let's get into the other thing, and then I'll get into some of these fan questions because some of these are going to tie back into wrestling. Um, we were talking beforehand a little bit. Back in 2006, there was a documentary that came out, and it featured you. And as you were saying beforehand, was that it started off as a bigger, broader project, but as the documentarian was going through this, he decided to pull yours out as a standalone. It was just like, I think this is just great on its own. Kind of, how did that come about? And tell us a little more about it.
Yeah, so this is probably back during the MySpace times, Tim, whoever that guy was.
Tom.
Uh, everybody, that was everyone's first friend, I believe his name
Mhm.
was Tim. But this guy from New York, he calls or contacts me on Facebook or MySpace, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a documentarian. I do, my interest is a lot of things, but one of my new interests is wrestling, and I'm doing this big documentary about wrestling and professional wrestling and all kinds of wrestling." And he said, "I heard about you through the grapevine," and I said, "Could I come down to Atlanta and film some segments?" To go into the big, documentary. And I was like, yeah, sure. And so he comes down and we filmed it like cops. I put him in the passenger seat of my car. So we're driving down to the wrestling show. It was Fort Valley AWN back in the day. And we did the whole thing. He interviewed all of the wrestlers and we got film and everything. And I told stories and we watched, some DVDs, if people have heard of those, if you know what those are. We watched some DVD footage and things like that. And I told him about how I was a huge fan of Adrian Street and all that. So then he packs up, goes back to New York, and maybe 6, 8 months later, he calls me and he's like, "Hey, I was, showing some of your footage to some of my friends and some viewings, and everybody just seems to have a real positive reaction to your story." He said, "Is it is it okay if I turn your segment? Is it okay if I turn your segment into its own standalone documentary?" And I was like, "What? Yeah, 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 yeah." And so that became Changing Perceptions, Profile of an Openly Gay Pro Wrestler. It was on Amazon. You can actually still go on Amazon and try and buy it. And it got me my IMDb and all that, so I'm like a real star. And from that, I headlined some gay and lesbian film festivals, and I was invited to be an ambassador for the World Gay Games. At the time, it was in Canada. However, I didn't go because at that time I didn't have any money and I couldn't afford to go to Canada, but I was invited. So, and the documentary itself, it won a couple of awards, and so it turned into be just a nice little thing. Get fan mail from all over the world, teenage people who said they saw it in the because it went on satellite television, which was a big thing back then. And there are people just seeing it saying, "Hey, I'm a teenage young person, and this gave me hope, and that things will get better." And that was kind of my overarching advice to people is, no matter how bad things are, because back then, you're talking 2005, um, you know, gay marriage was a just a twinkle in people's eyes, and laws were being passed to see to it that gay people didn't get married or even any type of recognition whatsoever. And I mean, you could still be kicked out of the military, sent to jail, don't ask, don't tell, fired from your job, kicked out of your home. Your family would still, not love you
Hmm.
anymore. And so that the message to it at the end of all of my little jokes and quips and everything was, life will get better, life does get better. And that was the documentary. Although I had nothing to do with it as far as like producing it and everything. It's got Adrian Street in it. He gets interviewed, and you find out what his thoughts are about gay people, which are not as open minded as I thought he would be. Because as a kid, I always thought he was a gay guy. So he was literally the first gay person I ever thought I knew or had ever
Hmm.
thought I heard of. So this is me in Tampa, Florida in the '80s, watching him at championship wrestling from Florida. And so to me, he was my first gay superhero. And then, fast forward 30 years later, 20 years later, 25, 30 years later, he's really actually a conservative person who is more mimicking his ideas of what he thought gay lifestyle was like, and wasn't really trying to bring anything to the forefront of American culture, which is interesting because even by accident, he made being gay more palatable to certain people, like my dad. He would sit and watch him and laugh and talk about how he just thought that was the coolest thing he'd ever seen. That gay guy just body slamming, beating people up. And for me, he's like a superhero. He's this gay guy, body slamming, beating people up. We're not all limp wrists and everything. But anyways, I got on my soapbox there. But that in a nutshell is the story of the documentary. 30 minutes long. Don't waste your time.
Oh, you should waste your time, and you are not really wasting time when you see this. It's very easily accessible, like you said. I think you can find it on Amazon. It might be on YouTube. It's on some
Yeah,
other
there's some
places.
clips on YouTube. Yep.
Yeah, definitely go check it out. It was brought to my attention just early today, and it's worth it for sure. If nothing else, to see all the fun things you were doing back then too. But
Well, I
like you said,
worked.
you ended up being kind of a pioneer for everything because up until then, like you said, it was beyond taboo. It was like, I don't want to hear it. Keep it to yourself. I don't want to know that you're gay or you're a lesbian or that you do this or that. No, no, no. Just do your thing and then go home and we don't want to hear about it. And then you were kind of one of the first to go, no, it's actually okay. You can still do all these things. There's nothing crazy here. It's
Almost
actually
human
more
beings.
normal than you think.
We live right down the street
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
nicest house on the block.
exactly. But yeah, go check out the documentary, everybody. But I want to get in some of these fan questions because we don't always get a chance to get into them, and it may be because uh, Ryan's rehab is keeping him off the show. But let me get into some of these here. Ross Blair, who writes for Georgia Wrestling History, I think I've heard of them too. He had a couple questions about some matches you have coming up. One in particular with your now former protege, Michael Walker, who has since uh, rebranded the Fro. That's unfortunate there, Mike. And another Mike, you apparently are having a month worth of mics here, as you were going to face Action Mike Jackson at the CEW show, and there's a follow up to that one. I don't know if you want to get in it first. Ross wants to know how you managed to dodge multiple felonies when you were threatened during the last encounter. Is
So
that
yeah, Mike and
misunderstanding
I,
there?
yeah, there wasn't a misunderstanding.
Okay.
Mike and I were in a program down in like Carbon Hill or Jasper, Alabama, or something like that. So there's literally like the town is 300 people, but
Mhm.
700 people would show up to the show. So I have no idea. They
Right.
brought the pigs, they brought the dirty mouth children, just everything, just the dogs, everything was in there. I mean, it was more of one of those, what do you call it, cattle auction type situation. I don't know. They called it the Civic Center, looked like a cattle auction to me. Anyways,
Same thing.
so Mike Jackson was the Southern champion, which he always tends to be everywhere you go. If it's got a Confederate flag on it, Mike is wearing it around his waist or something. I don't know. There again, I digress. I use them as floor mats. He uses them as championship belts. But Mike and I had a match, and I broke his collarbone again. He's had collarbone issues throughout his wrestling career. It just snaps out, and I hit the shoulder breaker, and it snapped out. And then I put him in an arm bar and started foaming at the mouth, and eventually passed out.
Hmm.
And so I became the new Southern champion. And I cut a little promo about how Mike was old, needed to go back to the old folks' home and stay there for pudding night or whatever, and probably this probably be the last that we heard of Mike Jackson because he's now a broken man. And I leave the ring, and as I'm leaving the ring, there are these two paramedics walking by that had the little backboard. One was carrying it in the front. They were both carrying it. One of them had a handle. And so, I mean, it was right there at the ring, and I just grabbed the backboard and I yanked it out of their hand and I threw it across the gymnasium, and I said, "There'll be no medical attention for Mike Jackson. If he dies, he dies." Seemed simple enough to me.
Yeah.
I, I got dressed, went home, and then I got a call around Wednesday. So that was a Saturday night show. Around Wednesday, got a call. There are two felony warrants for my arrest um, for assaulting the paramedics. Woo! Now, of course, in real life, I do other things that are not wrestling. And so
Right.
at that point, my entire professional existence starts flashing before my eyes. And so I tell the person on the phone, you got to see what you can do to fix this.
Yeah.
Because apparently what happened was when I had Mike Jackson in the armbar and he started foaming, someone in the arena called 911 and they were
Oh,
responding to a medical situation. So yeah,
so that
so
so that so that was that was medical from outside the building because any pro
yes,
wrestling show has inside medical people. And no, that's not inside. They're not part of the show. No, you have to have actual medical personnel on staff to have a real pro wrestling show. So you thought they were part of the ones from the show coming to just tend to him. You didn't know
I
they
could
had
just
just
beat him up.
arrived in their own paddy wagon.
Yeah, that I felt like that I could put my hands on them because they were part of the organization and they were going to accept the paycheck and they were going to get their check and leave.
Yeah.
And so I felt like they had seen enough wrestling that evening to know that it's possible that I might because when I get into that mode, I'm not really thinking about how they'll feel about me throwing their equipment around,
Hey.
but I kind of thought, well, it's this big plastic thing. Surely it's not going to hurt anybody if I just give it a toss across the and across the arena. And so later on, there was a negotiation, and the negotiated settlement of the situation was if Mike Jackson promised to kick my butt and take the title back, they would drop the charges, which Mike Jackson promised to do. And so the two felony charges went away, and I continued to operate as a private investigator in 5 states to this day.
Only in pro wrestling. There's that.
Only in
This
pro
is
wrestling.
this is
Well,
too
that's the
stupid to make up.
second time. That's the second time that's happened to me. Another time that it happened to me was in Franklin, North Carolina.
Mm.
Speedy Nelson used to work for Wildside. He had his own TNT wrestling, and so I had done this move called the Manchester Driver on this kid named Sci-Fi 3 times in a row, and our paramedic um, rolls into the ring and says, it says to Sci-Fi, you have a broken neck. I need you to remain perfectly still. And so Sci-Fi's like, he's like, well, I can move my fingers and my toes and everything. I don't think my neck is broken, but I've got 3 Manchester drivers. I get it. And plus, that was our paramedic. Well, we all come to the back. Sci-Fi remains outside, and he remains still because our paramedic says, "Don't move." And so I'm in the locker room, and all of a sudden I hear a siren, and I
Yeah.
look out the window, and there is an ambulance coming up the driveway of the National Guard Armory in Franklin, North Carolina. So I go out there and I wave at them and I go, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And they said, "Well, the paramedic here says that there's a severe neck trauma, head injury that has to be attended to." And so I'm gonna, pull back the curtain here just a little bit, which I shouldn't do. I'm gonna break kayfabe, but we all know. So I said, "Hey, I did not hurt him as bad as that paramedic thinks." I said, "This is a professional wrestling show. I did not injure him as bad as the paramedic thinks." And they said, "Oh, okay." And so at that point, they turned off the siren and they turned off the lights. And I said, "However, I feel like we have two choices here." I said,
Mhm.
"You guys can go back to the station, or we can lift up those doors and you can drive right on in with the lights and sirens, and you guys can
Mhm.
pick him up and attend to him since you're already here, and then take him away." And the driver looked at the passenger and they looked back to each other. The passenger turned on the lights, the driver turned
Mhm.
on the siren, and they went right back up. Incidentally, we were never allowed to wrestle there again. It shut down the show. That was the end of
Whoops.
wrestling in Franklin, North Carolina for many, many, many years.
Whoops. But that's the right thing to do. I mean, clearly they're wrestling fans. They're like, he's got a point. If we just drive off, then everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, this is fake," and this, "Oh no,
It's
look this
BS.
wrestling stuff again." No, you can't believe nothing. But when they're like, "Bring it on back,"
And we opened the bay door and they drove the ambulance right up to the ring, right up to the lights going and everything, right to the ring. I
wow,
was so
that's
there's such
that's
fights.
see, that's why it shows sometimes I am not the person that you want near certain events when they happen. Since it is a show we have mentioned earlier today already, and I think I've said my piece, or I've turned in the article with my piece on it, my opinion on it. Anytime a wrestler might inadvertently or not injure a crowd member or what you perceive as a crowd member, that's I think litigation pending. We won't get too far into it.
Oh yes, we're talking about our friend from a couple of weekends ago. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I had to watch it. I thought me and the two people beside me who were laughing hysterically when it happened. I thought we were going to be pulled into this litigation a little bit, so we had to pull some back channels to keep us out because everybody else is in disbelief, and the three of us are dang near on the floor laughing. We think it's the funniest thing we've ever seen, and
Well,
yeah, yep.
you
I
know
had
that
to.
other guy, he's big and mean. I wouldn't laugh at him too much.
No, no, no. I wasn't laughing at the guy who did the damage. I was laughing at the damage he did. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. It's like, well, don't put yourself on the train tracks if you don't think you're going to get hit by the train.
Yeah, we had to ask him to leave.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
happened.
yeah, he was asked very semi nicely to leave, which he did. I give him credit. He has been on this channel before. He's actually a pretty good human being as long as you don't get on his bad side.
Don't
So
push
I
the
look
button. Yeah,
Right. I look forward to seeing how those people pushed his buttons because there had to be something, but that's for another show, another day.
indeed.
Um, let's see. Let's get another fan question. It's kind of a follow-up to a while ago. I know we didn't really get into the Michael Walker thing, but that people can look that part up if they really want to. He is no longer your protege. This person
Well,
wants to
the
know.
show that show is dropping tonight, actually. So actually, it dropped tonight on YouTube, so they can go over there and check it out on YouTube.
There you go.
Crystal Impact Wrestling. Yeah,
Yeah, because I caught an early clip of it. Is how I knew about it too. But they want to know that since Michael Walker is seems to not be your protege anymore, if you are going to focus
find
on
another boy.
Christian Taylor, or if you have your eyes on maybe some other people.
Well, I do not like to tip my hand, because let's be honest, Michael Walker was a complete surprise to a lot of people, and I was able to
Yes.
somebody who didn't have even a job and overnight propel him to the Coastal Empire heavyweight champion. And have you seen that beautiful belt I bought? That was
Yep.
just, and the idea that Hunter. Hunter James now has possession of my gold belt. It's a little disconcerting to me, but I got it off of him one time before. I can get it off of him again, and we'll just have to see, who I can who I can talk to, who's around. Christian Taylor is a fantastic talent and has just unbelievable strength.
Hmm.
Um, However, he listens mostly, but when he gets out of line, it's usually way out of line, and so sometimes it's not really easy to bring it back, to the center, because when
Yeah.
he goes way out of line, usually somebody gets like saran wrap around their head, or he's choking them, or he's shoving something down their throat so they can't breathe, and so I feel like I've spent more time doing CPR than I
Yeah.
have like managing.
Yeah. Or like you said, cutting cellophane wrap off of people's heads, and it seems like you're doing more damage control than controlling the damage.
Yeah, yeah. It's not so much I'm directing. It's not so much that I'm directing the violence. I'm just sort of trying to make the violence fit into our PG-13
Yeah. Yeah.
rating, and he makes it. But I love him to death. I love him to death. He's a good boy and he listens.
Yes.
And who knows? The sky's the limit for him. We're just gonna have to. I don't know how to say rein him in. I don't know if you can rein him in. Just maybe the nose ring on the bull kind of thing. Maybe that's what's gonna
Maybe,
happen. Oh,
I don't know. If I come up with some ideas, I will shoot them your way too, because many of people before you have tried and
yeah,
they are unsuccessful too. So there's got to be some way.
yeah. I think maybe one of those dog bark collars with a remote or
Yeah,
something. So it
yeah,
just
just something humane like that, like the dog collar.
yeah,
Yeah,
something humane like that. Just something right on
yeah,
their throat, something humane, and just shocks the crap out of them, and just just bringing them their focus, bringing them into
yeah,
focus.
yeah. It's like we're here.
Yeah, incredibly strong. I mean, just a gorgeous specimen of a human being, and so good listener. But he has his ways.
He does, and like you said, he keeps getting further and further out the more times I see him. So it'll
Oh,
be interesting.
yeah. Usually, if I cover his eyes, that breaks his concentration. I have to cover his eyes, but I feel that's a
You,
bit bizarre.
like the blinders that they wear at like they wear for the Kentucky Derby and stuff. Sometimes just to keep yourself focused, you take
Oh,
away that peripheral.
an eagle or something. If you see one that's injured or an owl, like they can mess you up. But you
Oh yeah,
throw a that's where I got it from. You throw a pillowcase over them, then they just calm down when it's completely dark, and that's kind of what he's a wild animal in many cases, and so the only
yes.
way is just throw a pillowcase over him or something.
Once again, we're keeping it humane. Either the dog collar with
Yeah.
a little bit of a jolt there, or the pillowcase. I think those
Oh,
are
dude,
two.
he's super strong. We're gonna have to turn that thing way up. We're gonna have to turn it way up.
Yeah, almost cattle level or something maybe.
Yeah, I think so. It almost have to be like a dog collar with a huge cattle prod out of the side of it with
Yeah,
a
yeah. The whole Spinal Tap thing, you got to like turn it up to 11 maybe.
yeah, like to like 100.
Yeah, maybe so. But as we're finishing up with the legendary Simon Sermon here, and we're trying to keep this show as exotic as we can be, a few more fan questions.
All right,
And
boys will be
hey,
boys.
we are not afraid to be exotic on this show. At least one of us. I can't speak for the one night here.
Yeah. One
Um,
leg.
uh, Matt Williams, who I run into at a lot of different shows, he is a great fan of wrestling. He said he watched you way back at the Dillard's Music Park in Rome days, and his first question: would you ever be down for a one night only to return as the British vest wearing? I'll PG this a hole you were at Dillard's, and we just talked about the British guy,
Yeah, that was my mother-in-law back then. So that was actually my
a
mother.
lovely lady.
Yeah, she was. Yeah. No, I mean, nostalgia. I mean, that's what wrestling is. It's nostalgia for a throwback to the good old days, and that's what people want to say. I would totally not have a problem doing something like that because I still have the vest. The Unified European Championship actually I gave away to one of the big fans that went to NAWA Roma Dillard's, and like he literally started to cry when I gave it to him. So this is like back
Wow.
in 2010. So this was many. He was a fan, and actually in college we called them the Barry Boys because they went to Barry College, and like this entire group of teenage boys would show up, and for whatever reason they just loved Simon's sermon, and they would sing along while I would perform moves. I had this surfboard move they called the London Bridge. So when I would put it on a person, they would start singing "London Bridge is falling down," and they had like this show. Jerry the King Lawler showed up, and I got a bigger pop from them than Jerry the King Lawler got, and it formed like a canopy of hands that I walked
Oh
under.
wow.
Oh, it was great. And they loved the vest. So I would take the vest off and I would actually throw it out to them into the fans, and they would set it up in a chair so that the vest could enjoy the match as well. So they reserved
Oh
a chair
man.
for the vest. Oh, and back then, and even now, I'm a bit of a cheater from time to time. They would literally bring me weapons to use inside the matches. And there's this great match with me and Ted Allen, Nightmare Ted Allen, and it was the dirtiest player in the match, or dirtiest player in the game match. and like literally there was a croquet mallet, there was a tennis racket, there was a viola, not a violin, but a
Right.
viola, and you know these these guys that I got all these weapons from these college boys that would show up to help me win my matches, and even though I wasn't even a cool heel, I was only cool to them. Everybody else hated my guts. Everybody else hated my guts, but to them, I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And you go back and watch that show. I mean, I got so much energy off of them. It was magic. But yeah, I would do British Simon Sermon again. Just one night only sort of thing. I don't mind. Is paying homage to my mother-in-law back then, and so she's no longer my mother-in-law because as things happen, you grow up and you have different mother-in-laws, and so yeah. But still, I'm still in contact with her. So Jake, wonderful person,
That's
beautiful.
great. Seems like it. Seems like a lovely lady. Let's see. Matt had another one. He said, Changing Perspectives came out 20 years ago. In your opinion, have things evolved in independent wrestling since the release of that documentary? And is the sport more accepting of LGBTQ wrestlers?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, now they have. I mean, there's Dylan McQueen. There's an entire gay wrestling league. I think
Yes.
in California and in New York, and there's actually an annual show, and then you've got a big gay brunch down in Florida. None of these things existed, during
Mhm.
that time, or none of these things were even ideas back at that time. I am, by many, many years, the first openly gay wrestler. I mean, there were gay wrestlers, there were guys that were gay, but they were not open. I mean, people can talk about Pat Patterson, they can talk about, these other guys, and they were open to the boys, but they were not open to the boys and the fans. And in training, I was openly gay from the time I trained all the way to, present day. I don't hide it, didn't try and hide it. But as far as it being more open minded, I will tell you this. I believe that if I had been a bad wrestler, then it would have been worse. It would have been bad. However, I was pretty good. I took to it very easily and I did well. I didn't start until I was almost 30. So, I was an adult, so I didn't make all those adult mistakes that a lot of people do. I realized, okay, you're 30 years old. I never imagined that I would go anywhere in the wrestling business. I didn't even want to be a wrestler. I just wanted to be a referee. I thought that would be cool. But it's definitely. I mean, the entire planet has moved in a different direction. I mean, now we have gay marriage. I'm married. I've been married since 2014, but I've been with my spouse since 2003. So we've been a couple for a long time. We've outlasted a lot of our straight married friends, they've gotten divorces, and so, but no, I think the wrestling business has been very positive, but always behind the scenes, not so much on TV. There's still always the gay characters and everything that were bad back then. Some went a lot further than others, but there's those they were still legendary characters. I mean, Gold Dust and everything, you kind of have to get what you can get.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter um, what the character is on TV. It's kind of like I had heard. I'm a big Star Trek fan, so I had heard that Lieutenant Uhura was thinking about quitting the show like right after the first season. And Martin Luther King came in and he spoke to her and he said, no, no, it's Nichelle Nichols. He says, no, no, you can't quit because you're all we have on TV right now. And
Right.
even though you're in the background, you're on the bridge and you're in command and you have parts and you're speaking part and you're very integral and important to this story. And so I feel like I'm very integral and important to the beginning of the story, but I'm not really so much a part of the story now. The story has taken off and gone so many directions. I think that most people don't even realize that I had anything to do with the beginning part. It's the focus is now more on other people that I really don't really know.
Well, you brought up Star Trek, and there is actually a fan question about Star Trek, so we will get into that one. We
Hell yeah.
The question was, you still into Star Trek, which I think we just accomplished you are. What are your thoughts on the Starfleet Academy?
Well, I was very sure that that little white boy was going to find out that the Klingon had two penises, and we were going to find out on one of them episodes. Yeah, and from what I understand, it's also a corkscrew because of the violent nature of Klingon sex. So I don't know
Hmm.
what he's going to do to that white boy. I have no
Hmm.
idea. I saw that something was definitely. I was like, you see him in the next episode in a wheelchair, and you're just going to know what happened. Um, I thought it was pretty predictable which direction that was going. And let's be honest with you, not every show has to be has has to be so in your face about things.
Right.
Culture exists where we want to integrate into everything. We want to show society that we're just your next door neighbors and your wrestlers and your cops and your doctors and whatever. I don't feel like everything has to be. We don't have to be in everything. So if it wasn't in there, it wouldn't have bothered me. If hopefully they didn't get too detailed about it because if you know anything about Star Trek, Klingons have two penises. So, but it would make for a very funny joke, I'm sure. But I don't feel like we have to be in everything. But it's nice to see stuff like that. But also, gay characters have been established in the past. Mr. Sulu's gay in the Kelvin timeline. But before that, you find out he had children. So at some point he was trying to live the lie or whatever. But to me, I don't even understand how Mr. Scott has an accent 200 years into the future because if we're going to become one world, one planet, at some point we're all going to start talking the same.
Right.
That's just, and not everybody, there aren't going to be a lot of white people. Everybody's just going to be sort of an off color of brown. But
Yep.
that's how that sort of thing is. I'm glad that they tackle those things. It's nice to see those things, but from my point of view, it doesn't always have to be. We don't always have to be in everything. So that's my opinion on that. Good, but if it wasn't there, I wouldn't have noticed.
Definitely. And yeah, there have been shows in the past that either subtly get into the rights of everybody and things like that. And then some of them, like you said, are just right in your face to just be upfront about it. And I think, seeing the world evolve like that's a good thing because we need everybody here.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of Love Thy Neighbor any way you can. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding. But I think I tell people, if you can abide by three rules with me, then we will get along. And it's one is be a good person, two is do no harm, and three is respect everybody. And so if you can get those three things in there, then we'll be golden because everything that we encounter in life generally falls into one of those three categories. If you're doing all of those things, and you can get
Mhm.
through everything in life because whose toes am I stepping on? Who am I disrespecting? Who am I trying to hurt? Who am I trying to protect? Am I telling the truth? Am I lying? Those three things are so interconnected. It's if you hold that up to those three ideals, you should be able to get through most anything in life.
Absolutely. And two more questions, and I promise I will let you to your evening.
You can
Um,
talk to me forever. After this, I'm going to the queer bar.
there you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna have some drinks.
Sounds like a killer time, doesn't it?
That's my
Uh, Sweet Dreams is your theme music. Is that your favorite Eurythmics Annie Lennox tune?
yeah, and actually, the one that they play at NAWA is actually not my actual
Right.
entrance music. They play the original, which is fantastic. But I actually my entrance music has a sample from that. But yeah, "Sweet Dreams" is um, a fantastic Eurythmics Annie Lennox song, and literally anywhere you go, as soon as that song plays, people start dancing. It's
Hmm.
universally loved by everyone. So, and then of course it's tied to me here in Georgia. So anytime anyone hears it, they go, "Oh, where's Simon? He's around here somewhere." So,
It's true. I can hear it in the most random places, and I think about you coming to the ring, and then you start dancing. It's just those two things you can't help but move to that song.
yeah, and the funny part is in real life I don't dance.
I only pretend to at weddings until my drink arrives.
Nope. I don't even then. I'm just gonna sit there with my tie on. Yeah.
Last fan question. Is there any talent in Georgia that you see on the rise or that you suggest we pay attention to?
I mean, Christian Taylor is actually somebody who I noticed a number of months ago, and I did a post, and I was like, "Hey, have your eyes on Christian Taylor." And the next thing you know, he's like all over the place now.
It's all over the
So,
place.
so someone listened. Hunter James, fantastic, fantastic guy. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I actually have pretty good eye for talent. So when I say somebody looks good, they do. I mean, it's funny. My friend Xavier Woods, he says he discovered Austin Theory, but he starts the story out by going, "So my friend Simon Sermon called me to come look
Yep.
at this guy, and so I discovered Austin Theory, damn it." And Xavier Woods, good friend. I also trained Jake Cargill. I've trained a number of guys and ladies, Rose Gold, Nathaniel Vanderbilt, Randy Reno. A lot of people have come through. Have come through, and I've helped out with. But Michael Walker, unfortunately, I think there's a time limit on the amount of time that he can be uh, in wrestling per se, and so but within the last year, just by listening to what I tell him, he went from not having a job to becoming, Coastal Empire champion against
Hmm.
guys three times his size. So obviously there is something there in him, or else he wouldn't have any impact whatsoever. So him being a boy and doing stupid things and not listening to his elders and going on and doing his own thing, that's going to be on him, and that's going to come back to bite him in the butt one day. But yeah, um, um, I'm big fans of Bryce Cannon. I'm a big fan of Zach Mosley. Big fan of Cornelius Pepperbottom. Big fan of Hakeem Young. I actually was there when Jay Alpha Miller did his first trainee show at PCW, and I recognized immediately that guy had a great deal of talent, because anybody that can get the crowd to crap on USA as I mean, like it just speaks for itself. I'm like, I don't care what
Correct.
anybody tells you. I pulled him aside. I was like, there's two things you need to do, and I told him the first thing, and I said, but the second thing you need to do is anybody tells you to quit doing that, don't. I was like, because that's golden. I'm like, anybody that can get the crowd to boo USA. I mean, you've gotten over the hurdle of the psychology of your character.
Absolutely. He does it better than anybody I've ever seen. And I want him to continue that too.
And of course, I love my Rose Golds, and I love my Randy Renos, and I love my Nathaniel Vanderbilts, and I love all those. I love, I basically love just about everybody. There aren't too many people in wrestling that I don't like. Um, but as far as just like the Georgia talent, like Georgia's had a spotlight on it for a number of years now, and so many people have come from Georgia to even go on to a much bigger stage. And I'm proud to say that I've had, maybe just a little bit, just a little bit, a little something, just a little something. You know, um, I work for Dusty Rhodes, so I that was always a big interesting thing, and that's how I. So of course, because of that, I have to always say I love Ray Lloyd Glacier. Like you would not believe, if it weren't for that guy calling me on one Saturday. If there's another interview, I got to tell you the Dusty Rhodes stories. I got to tell you all that. But if not for Ray Lloyd, there would be no Simon Sermon. So if you like me or you hate me, you blame Ray. You blame Glacier. It's his fault, because literally nobody even cared who I was until he got me on Dusty Rhodes' TCW show.
Wow. Yeah, that's we're definitely gonna try to get you back on for
Oh,
so many other things. But that
Dusty
alone right
Rhodes show is
there,
hilarious.
I mean, I mean, that there does sound like the American dream, if you will. It just really does.
Oh,
I
I grew
can
up
do a
in
better
Tampa.
impression, but I can't this late at night.
Yeah. Oh, I grew up in Tampa. The guy's a god. I literally met a god, who could do no wrong. And like, and they say don't meet your heroes. And our first meeting did not go well, in my personal opinion. It didn't. But I think I grew on him. So
There you go. I think that's a lot of stories that involve him.
yeah.
But Simon, it has been fantastic having you on. As we said, the next NAWA Ring Champion show is July 11th in Calhoun at the Spot 365.
Yep.
The next Deep South Wrestling show is at New Realm Brewery, I believe, this Saturday. Don't have bell time in front of me. I'm gonna guess about 5 normally, I think, on a Saturday New Realm show. That sounds right. We'll
And
go
I'll
with
tell
that.
just for the fans in case they want to check in, that the NAWA show will be Beauty and the Beast, myself and Man uh,
Mason.
and Mason versus that Trailer Park Trash team. I'll just leave you with that. So Beauty and the Beast versus Trailer Park Trash. Yeah.
And that's that. Yeah, I'm on record saying that had the main event of that last show not been the 5-star classic that it was, that you and Frost are actually my favorite match from that one. That I was highly enjoying that. I thought you were going to steal the show until the main event just went that other level.
Well, I'm not supposed to steal the show. If I steal the show, there's something wrong with your show. I'm a senior citizen. So if I'm 52. So if I'm stealing the show, there's a problem.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go, folks. But Simon, has been fantastic having you on.
Thank you.
I'm going to let you back to your evening. You are considered family here. You're welcome back anytime, whether you want to plug things, whether you just want to talk more Star Trek, which means I will have to start watching more Star Trek so that I know the rest of these storylines. But
Robotech and Battlestar Galactica. Those are the big three.
what was
I
the
don't even
second one?
watch wrestling. Battlestar Galactica and Robotech. It's a cartoon from the 80s. So
I,
yeah, I don't
I
even
will,
watch
I will,
wrestling. Yeah.
I will have to fit that into the many hours of wrestling I watch each week for this show.
Mhm. Yeah.
But as I said, we will let you on to your evening. And this has been a special edition of Pro Wrestling Underground for still not
That
sure
other
where he is. My host, yeah, for that other guy, Mr. Marks. I am Jeremy the Impact York. He is Simon Sermon. Never know which way to point. We will see you guys next week. Deuces, gooses. Go watch wrestling.
exotic one.